Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm revisiting my control panel. Now you may have seen this being built up over a few videos previously, and I do really like it. It's come out really well. However, there's a couple of minor niggles that I have with it. One is the push buttons. Occasionally they toggle the points from one direction to the other, so basically go to where it's meant to be and then back again when you've pressed the button once, which is rather annoying. So I'm going to use some different buttons, and the other thing is I've done a few changes to the layout. Mainly my storage area, the lower storage track you can see there, which I call number 5, has now got 2 additional laser totties on it, so I want to be able to mark those positions up. And I've also got a few more of the district cutouts that I want to put in this area just here. And I also want to be able to toggle on a LED light strip. So when I get my upper level, I'll be able to press a button and it will put on an LED strip for me. I'm going to hope that I can do that using a Merg kit and a relay. That's my plan. And it is fairly large for effectively a few points and the storage area. So I've decided to change it, and I was watching McKinley and they did a really nice control panel, and it was based on a technology by Megapoints. I mean, they've basically taken the method, which is like having a piece of opaque white plexiglass and effectively etching out the back of it so that you can paint it or put some LEDs through it. So that is exactly what I've gone off and done, apart from I've actually gone and used Dave at Megapoints to do this for me. And here is a kind of draft of the new panel just here. Let's see if that will stay there for a second. And as you can see, I've made the changes that I wanted. So a few weeks have passed, so I sent Dave some drawings, and I went on holiday, and he posted this after I'd come back, which is really good. So I'm just going to open this up and see what the points look like. So I am using Dave's buttons for my kit, so hopefully there's going to be some buttons in here somewhere for that. And these are called surface mount tactile buttons, and this is what we've got here. So let's have a look. We've got, here's the panel itself, so hopefully we can see that one. That's the panel. This is the panel, all really nicely done. What I really like about it is that you see, it's a piece of Plex, but the LEDs sit beneath it, and then the buttons sit in here. So one of the things that I did make, which is a bit of a bigger change, was, and somebody did point this out, one of the things is when I'm doing the crossovers, I only really need one button to do those crossovers, because they're either going to be straight or crossed over. So I press the button and it allows me to do it. So that looks really nice. I think the panel with its kind of muted white looks nice. He's painted that in there, the background for me. That looks really nice as well. So I'm really pleased with the way that panel has looked up. So I've added block detection in, which is not used for any kind of automation. And I haven't got the block detection set up here, but I thought I'd add those LEDs in there anyway. I've got block detection for the outer 2 tracks. So when it goes past these points, these should come on. At the moment, again, these tracks are not even laid, but they will have some kind of detection on them as well, which is also quite nice. I said I've got my new DMU indicators in as well. So this is like train on track, and these will be the spot or laser spots that I've got going around in level 5. So that looks really nice, and I've got a couple of buttons there. So I'll just put that back in that to protect it. Thanks, Dave. Looks really good. If you watch the video, that looks really nice. I also bought an enclosure from him as well. Now, I was hoping for a sloped one, but he doesn't do sloped ones anymore, so I'm going to have to work out a way of retrofitting it so that I can sort of angle it on my boards, because I do have, as you saw previously, it hangs off the edge of the layout, so it would normally be kind of here at an angle, so I'm going to have to work something out for that. So this looks pretty straightforward. What I'm not sure about is where the buttons are for it. I did order 10 buttons with it as well, and there's nothing else left in the pack, so I'm going to have to go back to Dave and ask him the question for that. Anyway, I will put it together. I'm going to use all the electronics from the current system that I've got, minus the buttons, and hopefully that will look super impressive when I get to put it all together. After checking my order, I had actually forgot to order those buttons, and I placed the order and Dave did dispatch them really quickly. So I went about now adding them to the board. They're quite straightforward. There's 4 little screws, you screw them in and they're all nicely marked up, and you can see the orientation on there because he's kind of laser engraved it in, and away you go. It's quite straightforward to do. The screws go into the board quite easily, and they do fit really well, and I quite like the feel of those compared to the other buttons. They have much more of a positive click, so you know when you've pressed it and you're only going to press it the once. So that does work quite well. Once I fit them all, I went off and just did a quick little push button on each of them, just push them down, check them out, make sure that they all kind of worked, everything was nice and secure. So I started with the build of the Megapoints control panel, and this is the lower section just here. I've glued it a couple of days ago and set it. I haven't got quite enough clamps, so the edges are not perfectly square, and I don't have those magnetic squares as well, which I probably should invest in something along those lines, but this is kind of phase 1. I've got to glue the front edge as well in there in a second. This is the upper level of the panel, so the actual panel will sit in this side just here, and it has another bezel over it. This was quite nice and easy to put in. I'm using a couple of elastic bands here to kind of try to keep it square as much as possible, and a couple of heavy duty pots hopefully will hold it all in place whilst it sets. The next step is to basically unwire this beastie and put it all into the other control panel. But I'm going to take some notes, make sure I know where every LED goes, so I can wire them back up into the Merg cam pans correctly without having too much of an issue. So here is the old panel, and it kind of looks like this inside. I've got my 2 cam pans linked up to kind of distribution boards in some respects, so I need to document everything from these areas to the relevant switches, where it switches, and the LEDs, and hopefully it won't be too difficult to wire up, although the new panel is significantly more compressed. It's only an A4, so probably only this big in reality. So and there's a few more LEDs that I need to solder up and prepare. I thought I'd better just check some of these LEDs that are actually all working as expected. I do know I've got a couple of super bright reds which shouldn't be super bright, so I've just mocked up this little breadboard thingy-majig here, and I can just pop in, so instantly that one has got a bit of a problem with its connector, so let's just see if we can sort that out. So there's one that needs to be re-crimped. Let's just check some of the others. I've got some multicoloured ones as well, so these are a little bit more complicated. Again, the white goes to the white, and then the red can go to one of these. Hopefully that should illuminate. So red is coming up on it, it's very faint. Let's just try that one maybe. green is also incredibly faint on it. Yeah, so that is working. It's just very faint because of the power supply that I'm using. So I'm going to go through and test the rest of these now. I'll come back shortly. All my LEDs, I've come across a few of my red greens that had high intensity LEDs in. So I'm going to resolder those, and I've just found the actual low intensity or normal intensity LEDs that I've purchased and used previously. This one just needs a new end put on because it's not clipping into place correctly. So it's all looking reasonably good for this replacement, which is good stuff. This is the second part of the enclosure, and the point of watching one of the videos is you can effectively lay it in there and make it a bit of a work top. What I quite like about this is you can quite easily take a 3mm LED and push it through. Now, I must admit, it does take a bit of force, but it's like an interference fit. So this is one of my orange ones. I labelled it red and blue with my permanent markers, and you can basically just push them through like that, and they stick in. So I'm gonna wire these up now with the ones that I've got. It means I can then start plugging it back into the cam pans, the Merg cam pans that I've got, and that will allow me then to at least get it operational and hopefully see it in action. Although I am missing a couple of coloured items that I do need to order. When I say missing coloured items, I mean I'm using blue at the moment for my train on track indicators, and I'm wondering if I need another colour for my location LEDs, because at the moment I've got red and yellow, which are these ones I'm putting at the moment, which are for the end connections. So basically when you go into the sidings and you can't see them, when you hit red you know to stop. So I've got these ones here that I can utilise for that. The question is, on the siding 5, should I change them from, I haven't got a colour at the moment, should I make them yellow rather than orange, so they're visually different to see? If so, well, I've still got to build those actually, because I haven't got any 3mm in yellow. But yeah, that's the idea. What do I do for those? Anyway, I'm going to carry wiring this up and I'll come back to you later. I've wired up all of the LEDs now. Well, almost all of the LEDs. I am waiting on a couple of colours to come in, but predominantly it is done. This is kind of it propped up at the moment inside the box, and I'm just going to power cycle the layout on. So you should be able to see some of the LEDs that come up. In the background you might hear everything running. This is the actual control panel. This fits over on the panel, and it just literally slots on when you get the switches aligned correctly. Should be able to do that fairly straightforward, although it's sunk into the box, but so that's how it kind of looks. As you can see, when some of the positions where I've got laser totties work, you get the LEDs up, my end sections indicators here, and my slow sections there. Currently I've got no trains at all on the layout, so I'm not getting any kind of DCC track occupancy going on at the moment. I've got 2 new LEDs here. I'm waiting for one of those to arrive because I've run out of blues. But the only thing I have come across is that the greens and reds, let me just zoom in on that a little bit. The greens and reds are, because it's obviously behind a perspex sheet, are a little bit dull. I have got a bit further down, let me just see if I can get it to the location, just down here. These two are using, or at least this one here is using an ultra bright LED. And I'm wondering if I need to swap all of my LEDs to the ultra brights or whether I can leave them with the kind of slightly paler colours. If I need to swap them around, that's a fair amount of LEDs I need to resolder up, but that's what I need to do. So I'm just going to test it a little bit more, and I can kind of finally fit it into the actual box with the final bezel on it. As you can see, the amount of wires, the rat's nest of wiring that is required to make the connection between all those LEDs and bi-coloured LEDs and switches is quite considerable. But I'm hoping it does all work perfectly when it finally gets powered on for real. I've finally wired up all of the LEDs. I've had to put some new ones in, I've had to rework some of the wiring around it. I've powered it up, and I'm kind of hoping that when I power it up for the first time on camera that it's actually going to do what it needs to do. Power cycle is completed, the LEDs are up and running, apart from this one just here, but that's I think due to one of the sensors, the way that the start of day works. Annoyingly, these are all meant to be ultra bright, and I think the issue may be because I've purchased the ultra brights over different times. They're probably sort of different batches and manufacturers. Anyway, that's life. So the mental note for that will be, if you need to buy enough, buy them all in one go. This is the actual Megapoints panel that will sit on the unit, and it will sort of sit like this. So you can see all the buttons are now looking very nicely, and all the LEDs are sitting underneath the perspex. So I think that looks really nice. I've wired up all the lights down here, so the districts are there, although the storage lighting is the only one at the moment which has got a cutout, which has got illumination support on it. The storage lighting is a project to be done. That is something to be sorted when I put in the upper level. I want to put some LED strips in it. I want to use a 12-volt relay to be able to turn that on. That's the ultimate plan for that one. The buttons do be pushed down the way. One change I'm going to make at the moment is I'm going to make these all set when you press the relevant button. So when you press that one there, all the points are thrown so that traffic can go through into the relevant section. The LED sensors are there. I've just got to enable them in the background to make them work, as should the TOTI detectors. If I put something on one of the tracks, I'm hoping that they will illuminate as and when it's required, or not, as the case may be. So that needs a little bit of investigating. Well, that one's working. It's possibly that I've had to rewire some of these around just to lengthen out the wires and just check what's going on. So we've got 1, 2, 3 is not working, 4 is, and 5. So you know that could be the faulty LED or a little bit of a recode required. So I'm going to have a look at that now, and then hopefully we can come back and it will be in perfect operation. I've sorted out many of the problems that I had with a couple of the LEDs, the DMU stops that I've got. Well, I hope that DMUs at some point are there. The bits to still test are the TOTIs, the train on track stuff for the main lines, and these, although I believe they do work. I'll check the LEDs to make sure they're all wired up okay. There is a green class 8 at the moment sitting on track 8. I'm just going to have a little bit of a play around to make sure that everything works as anticipated. So I'm going to bring out the I'm going to pop out the, so I say everything works apart from that light just there. Let's just check. Green, that should pop to red. Might have to check the wiring on that one. Yes, look at that. Another one to check, rather annoying. I'll check that in a second. I want to make sure everything else is working. I'll show you in a second, but I've completed the control panel. It is now mounted up. As I said before, also, Megapoints don't do enclosure, which have got an angled top on it, which is what my old panel had. So I've had to kind of come up with a solution, and it's probably not the best solution, but using Fusion 360, I've created a bracket and printed it out using PETG filament, and it's basically a bracket which's got a 30-degree angle on it to mount the panel. And I've made a couple of these. I've made a slight change to the ones I've actually used around here, but that's pretty much it, and I can show you the panel in place. And here is the panel. As you can see, I've got the brackets mounted up. I've had to move my connector because it was over there, and I don't know why, stupidly I went and wired it up. So originally the wires came out the other end over here as opposed to at this end, but anyway, that's what's happened. I've just moved things around, and I've added the panel to it, as you can see. So I'm very happy with the way it's turned out. I'll just power it on for you. So here is the panel in operation. I've got my totties working at the moment. I've got trains on each of the tracks. For some strange reason, this one here does fluctuate when I take one of the locos out, and you can press the buttons and everything now moves over, so that's fantastic. The other block detections, which we've got down here and across here, they're currently not wired up on the layout, so there's no detectors for these pieces of tracks. I have got detectors for these two, but not those two, and I've got some which go around the back also. They are currently, again, they're not wired up into the Merg platform, so I'm not getting any feedback, so they don't actually show up anything. But all in all, the panel is working. I painted it with black. That's actually an acrylic black. I ran out of normal paint, and actually it's come out pretty well. When I built the enclosure, I didn't have clamps big enough to make it perfectly square, and as you can probably just see on some of the outer edges, it's not brilliantly flush like it is over there. But overall, I am very pleased with the way that it's come out. I do love the fact that the LEDs are actually underneath the whole display. You might be able to just see some of the greens are slightly different in colour. When I do the next main one, I will buy all the LEDs from the same manufacturer at the same time in the same batch, hopefully, so they'll all be a consistent colour. So I'm very happy. I'm just going to take one of the sensors like this one here and just move a train into one of the laser totties. It all works just as I'd hope. The only bit which is still to be done is just here. This has obviously got feedback in the way that it operates, and as you can see, it takes a little bit of time for it to adjust. I want to put something called a Merg can compute in, so that the actual green will only go green once both of those points, the relevant Hall effect sensors, are both at the relevant settings, so that they will only ever go green if that's correct. And likewise, I want to set some routes up here, which I believe I can do with the can compute. So when I press that button, everything else will be set, and they will change those points if it requires to, depending on how those Hall effects sensors are done. I did accidentally do a little bit of a short, and the storage sidings did actually come up, and that illuminates as it should do, which is fantastic. So as I said, I'm very pleased. The actual panel from Megapoints is brilliant. I really like it. If I've got one little criticism, I could probably just do with the panel depth being a little bit deeper, because the amount of wires I have and the way they are done. But I think if I did the next one, I'd probably do things slightly differently, maybe with the wires, and I'd probably try to because it'd be a slightly bigger panel, it'd be longer. I'd probably try to maybe route the cables slightly better. I did use the silicon based, well, it's wiring a silicon cable, outer cabling, sheathing, what you want to call it, and that is very flexible in its own right, and it works really well with crimping those DuPont connectors. Anyway, I hope if you've enjoyed the video, then please do hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please do hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be told every time I post a video. Thanks very much to all the new subscribers who have come and joined. As of creating this video, as of today, in October 2021, I've actually got up to 606 subscribers, which I think is quite amazing. So thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.